Hello, everyone. So, today our topic of discussion is the attitude behavior relationship. So, the relationship that's between the behavior and attitude is quite interwoven. It is usually believed that the behavior is followed by an attitude, but that's not always the case. The behavior is exhibited or surfaced only when the individual possesses a strong attitude towards something, when the person is not being watched, and when the behavior has a positive outcome. So essentially, the attitudes may not always predict the actual pattern of your behavior, and that one's actual behavior may be contrary to one's attitude towards a particular topic. Therefore, the psychologists had actually found that there would be consistency between the attitudes and the behavior when. So, number one is when the attitude is strong and occupies a central place in the attitude system. Number two is when the person is aware of her or his attitude. Number three, when there is very little or no external pressure for the person to behave in a particular way. Number four, when the person's behavior is not being watched or evaluated by others. And number five, when the person thinks that the behavior would have a positive consequence and therefore intends to engage in that behavior. So, to prove this, that the attitude may not always predict the actual pattern of one's behavior, Richard LaPiere, who was actually an American social psychologist, he conducted the following study where he basically had asked a Chinese couple to go around the United States. So, why did he actually touch upon this topic? Was because in the early days, the Americans were actually said to be prejudiced against the Chinese. So, prejudice in the simple terms actually means the Americans actually held a very, very negative attitude towards the Chinese. So, when you hold a very negative attitude towards a particular group, that's what is called prejudice. And he deliberately kind of picked up this topic. And so, this Chinese couple went around different hotels and they basically were wanting to accommodate themselves in any of the hotels, and it was found that almost all the hotels agreed to give them place to stay, but there was just one of the hotels that sort of refused the services. So later on, Lapierre had actually prepared a questionnaire, and he had sent out the questionnaire to the managers of the hotels and, of course, to many other tourist homes. And so, of course, in the questionnaire, they wanted to kind of ask them if they are willing to give accommodation to this Chinese couple. And a very, very large percentage of the response very clearly showed that the hotels were not interested to give accommodation to the Chinese couple. And so the response showed a very negative attitude, towards the Chinese couple, and which clearly also, in a way, contradicted the positive behavior which the hotels had showed the Chinese couple earlier. So, of course, they held a negative attitude towards the Chinese and they were not comfortable with them, of course, coming to stay. But when the Chinese couple had approached them, so their behavior towards them was not very negative, and they were quite willing to give them a place to stay. So there was definitely an inconsistency, there was definitely a contradiction which was very clearly seen, that they definitely showed a positive behavior, but as per the questionnaires their attitude was very negative towards the Chinese group of people. So this very clearly states that our attitudes are not always going to predict, the pattern of our behavior. Sometimes, it is the behavior that's going to be entirely different with our own attitude. With what attitude probably we are moving ahead, or the attitude that we have towards a particular group of people. Our behavior might not align with that. It probably can show a great inconsistency or a contradiction actually. So many a times it is the behavior that's deciding the attitude also. Sometimes even that happens. So with this, we close the attitude behavior relationship. Thank you so much.